Imagine for a moment that you're sitting in your local coffee shop, pulling out your credit card to pay for your morning drink. Simple, right? But what you don't realize is that this single transaction connects you to one of the biggest financial scandals of 2024. That piece of plastic in your hand? It's not just a convenient way to pay, it's your personal connection to a web of corporate corruption so vast and complex that even seasoned financial experts struggle to comprehend it. Today, we're diving deep into the 5 most shocking business scandals of 2024. What you're about to learn will fundamentally change how you view the entire corporate world, because here's the truth. These aren't just isolated incidents of corporate greed. They're symptoms of a system that's not just broken, but operating exactly as designed. The combined fines from these 5 scandals alone total over $8.8 billion. Think about that number for a moment. That's enough money to fund the entire education system of a small country, or build hundreds of thousands of affordable homes. Yet for these corporations, it's just the cost of doing business, a rounding error on their quarterly reports. But before we dive into these scandals, you need to understand something crucial. These stories aren't just about money. They're about power, control, and a system that's designed to protect those at the top while exploiting everyone else. These are stories about how the institutions we trust with our money, our data, and our future are often working against us in ways we never imagined. Let's start with Cummins. And this story is literally about the air you're breathing right now. In 2024, this American engine giant was slapped with a $2 billion fine for cheating on diesel emissions tests. But calling this an environmental scandal doesn't even begin to capture the scale of this deception. What Cummins did wasn't just break some regulations. They engineered a sophisticated system of environmental fraud. Their engines were designed with what's called a defeat device. But that technical term masks the true nature of what this really was: a calculated scheme to poison our air while lying about it to our faces. Think about the mindset required here. Engineers and executives sat in rooms, had meetings, made presentations, all about how to make their engines appear clean during tests, while spewing illegal levels of pollution on actual roads. This wasn't some technical oversight or honest mistake. This was a premeditated environmental assault for profit. And here's what makes this truly sinister. They did the math. They calculated that the profits from cheating would outweigh any potential fines. They literally put a price tag on public health and decided it was worth it. While children in communities near highways developed asthma, while elderly people struggled to breathe, while our climate crisis worsened, Cummins was counting their money. The $2 billion fine sounds massive until you realize Cummins made over $28 billion in revenue in 2023 alone. This wasn't punishment. It was just another business expense, a small price to pay for years of profitable deception. Moving to TD Bank's $3 billion fine for financial fraud, we enter a world where trust itself becomes a weapon. This wasn't just another banking scandal. It was a masterclass in institutional deception that would make Bernie Madoff proud. Imagine you walk into a TD branch bank, trusting them with your life savings, your mortgage, your financial future. What you don't know is that behind those friendly smiles and professional demeanor lurks a system designed to exploit that trust for profit. The bank wasn't just cutting corners. They were orchestrating one of the largest financial frauds of 2024. The TD Bank scandal started with something seemingly innocent: sales targets. But these weren't just any targets. They were impossible to meet through legitimate means. Bank employees faced a brutal choice: either deceive customers or lose their jobs. It's a system that turned everyday bank workers into unwilling participants in a massive fraud scheme. Think about Sarah, a single mother who discovered her account being drained by fees she never agreed to. Or John, a small business owner who found himself with 5 credit cards he never applied for. These aren't just statistics. They're real people whose lives were upended by a bank that saw them not as customers to serve, but as resources to exploit. But here's what makes this truly disturbing. When whistleblowers tried to speak up, they were silenced. When customers complained, their voices were buried in bureaucratic mazes. TD Bank didn't just commit fraud, They built an entire system to protect and perpetuate it. Let's talk about Apple's $1.9 billion fine for anti-competitive practices. But this story goes far deeper than just another tech company throwing its weight around. This is about how the world's most valuable company has created an empire by systematically strangling innovation while masterfully maintaining an image of progress. Apple's power isn't just in their products. It's in their ecosystem. Imagine building a beautiful house only to discover that once you move in, you can never leave. Every door must be Apple approved. Every window must be purchased through their store. Every repair must be done by their technicians. That's the Apple ecosystem. A golden cage that looks like freedom from the inside. The company's strategy for maintaining this control is breathtaking in its efficiency. When a small company creates something innovative, Apple deploys what insiders call the three-phase elimination strategy. First, they try to buy the company. If that fails, they copy the technology and integrate it into their ecosystem. If the company still survives, they change their platform rules to cripple the competitor's product. Take the case of Tile, the small company that made device trackers. When they refused to sell to Apple, suddenly Apple released AirTags. But it wasn't just about copying the product. Apple gave AirTags privileged access to the iPhone's location systems that Tile couldn't get. They didn't just compete with Tile, they changed the rules of the game itself. Or look at what happened to Epic Games. When they dared to offer users a cheaper way to buy in-game items, Apple didn't just remove Fortnite from the App Store, they threatened to cut off Epic's access to all Apple development tools, potentially crippling thousands of other games using Epic's Unreal Engine. This wasn't competition, it was technological extortion. The 30% App Store commission isn't just a fee, it's a symbol of Apple's absolute power. They claim it's for security and user protection, but internal documents revealed in court showed they spend less than 5% of this revenue on App Store operations. The rest, pure profit extracted from developers who have no choice but to pay. But perhaps the most disturbing is how Apple uses privacy as a weapon. Yes, Apple does protect user privacy, but they use this noble goal as cover to further entrench their monopoly. When they blocked third-party cookies in Safari, it wasn't just about privacy. It devastated small advertising companies while leaving Apple's own advertising business untouched. The Binance scandal rips open the dark underbelly of the cryptocurrency world, revealing something far more sinister than simple financial mismanagement. When CEO Changpeng Zhao was sentenced to prison, it exposed how the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange had transformed into something unprecedented. A global criminal infrastructure masquerading as a legitimate business. Internal documents revealed a company that didn't just turn a blind eye to criminal activity, they built their entire business model around it. Binance created what they called regulatory blindness by design. They deliberately structured their operations to make it impossible for any single country to have full oversight of their activities. The numbers are staggering. Over $756 billion in suspicious transactions flowed through Binance in 2021 alone. But here's what those numbers really mean. Mexican cartels moving drug money through multiple wallets in seconds. Human trafficking networks collecting ransoms from desperate families. Terrorist organizations funding operations through untraceable transactions. The company's internal communications, revealed during the investigation, show executives openly discussing how to avoid compliance measures. One executive wrote, "If we do KYC like US exchanges, we will die." Another responded, "Better to ask for forgiveness than permission." They weren't just breaking the law, they were building a business model based on helping others break it. Consider the case of a major ransomware attack on a US hospital chain in early 2024.
The American Hospital Association has described the hack as, quote, the most serious cyber attack in history on the healthcare system.
The attackers demanded payment in cryptocurrency, specifically through Binance's platform. When the FBI tried to trace the payments, they hit a wall of deliberate opacity. Binance had created a system so complex, with funds moving through so many jurisdictions, The tracking became virtually impossible. But perhaps the most chilling were the multiple instances where Binance executives directly helped criminal enterprises structure their transactions to avoid detection. They created special accounts for large volume clients they knew were criminal organizations, provided them with technical advice on avoiding detection, and even warned them about upcoming law enforcement actions. At the top of our list sits Visa, and this story isn't just about monopolistic practices. It's about how one company has quietly seized control of the very infrastructure of modern commerce. The Department of Justice's lawsuit exposed a system of control so complete, so sophisticated, that it makes traditional monopolies look amateur. Visa's dominance isn't about having the best product. It's about making it impossible for any alternative to exist. They've created what economists call a death spiral of competition. Any business that doesn't accept a Visa loses customers. Any bank that doesn't partner with Visa loses merchants. Any new payment technology that doesn't work with Visa's systems is effectively stillborn. The company's internal documents, revealed during the DOJ investigation, show executives explicitly discussing strategies to kill, cripple, or remove any potential competitors. When a new payment technology emerged, Visa would either buy it, copy it, or use its market power to ensure it never gained traction. Consider what happened when mobile payment systems started emerging. Visa didn't just compete, they changed their agreements with banks to make it financially ruinous for them to work with alternative payment systems. They created technical standards that made their system incompatible with others, then used their market power to make these standards industry requirements. The real genius of Visa's monopoly is how they've made themselves invisible. When you pay higher prices at stores because of their processing fees, you don't see Visa's name on the price tag. When small businesses struggle because of transaction costs, it doesn't make headlines. They've created a tax on the entire economy while remaining largely invisible to the public. But perhaps most disturbing is how Visa uses its control over payments to shape behavior. They can effectively decide what types of businesses can exist in the modern economy by choosing who can and cannot process payments. They claim this power is used responsibly, but internal documents show they've used it to suppress competitors and control markets in ways that go far beyond their public mandate. Looking at these 5 scandals together, a disturbing pattern emerges. These aren't just isolated incidents of corporate misbehavior, they're glimpses into a system where power concentrates, corruption festers, and accountability becomes a myth. Think about it. We've created a world where corporations can poison our air, steal our money, crush innovation, enable criminal enterprises, and control our access to commerce. And the worst that happens is they pay a fine that amounts to pocket change for them. But here's what keeps me up at night. For every scandal we discover, how many more remain hidden? For every fine that makes headlines, how many victims never see justice? These 5 scandals from 2024 aren't just history, they're warning signs of a future where corporate power continues to grow unchecked. So what does all this mean for you, watching this right now? It means that every day, you're interacting with a system designed to exploit you while making you believe you're being served. You're not just a customer or a user, you're a resource to be mined for profit. Think about your typical day. You wake up, check your iPhone, Apple's ecosystem, buy coffee with your Visa card, payment monopoly, drive past trucks running Cummins engines, environmental fraud, deposit your paycheck at TD Bank, financial deception, and maybe check your crypto investments on Binance, criminal enablement. You're not just witnessing these scandals, you're living them. But these scandals create waves that go far beyond their immediate impact. When Cummins cheats on emissions tests, it's not just about air pollution. It forces other manufacturers to choose between losing market share or cheating themselves. When Apple crushes small developers, they're not just hurting those companies, they're killing innovations we'll never even know about. This is how the system perpetuates itself. Each scandal, each abuse of power, makes it harder for honest businesses to compete. It's a race to the bottom, where ethical behavior becomes a competitive disadvantage. Now, you might be thinking, at least these companies got caught and paid fines, but here's the brutal truth, these fines aren't punishments, They're permits. When a company makes billions from illegal behavior and pays millions in fines, that's not justice, it's just a business expense. Consider this. Not a single high-level executive from these companies will spend a significant day in prison, except for Binance's CEO, who got a mere 4 months. The same people who orchestrated these massive frauds are still walking into corner offices, still collecting bonuses, still planning the next scheme. This is usually the part where I tell you how to fight back, but I'm not going to pretend there are easy solutions. These companies have woven themselves so deeply into the fabric of our lives that avoiding them completely is nearly impossible. But that doesn't mean we're powerless. Real change starts with awareness. Understanding how these systems work is the first step to challenging them. Here's what you can actually do. First, recognize your power as a consumer. These companies might seem invincible, but they exist because we allow them to. Every purchase, every click, every transaction is a vote for the kind of world we want to live in. Second, support alternatives. Yes, it might be less convenient. Yes, it might cost more. But every time you choose a local business over a mega corporation, every time you opt for an ethical alternative, you're helping build a different kind of economy. Third, demand real accountability, not just fines, real structural change. Support politicians and policies that prioritize corporate accountability. Follow the money in your local elections. Understand who's funding what and why. Here's what it all comes down to. These scandals from 2024 aren't anomalies. They're features of a system working exactly as designed. A system that rewards deception, encourages exploitation, and protects the powerful. But systems can change. They have to change. Because if we've learned anything from these scandals, it's that the cost of allowing this to continue isn't just measured in dollars, it's measured in destroyed lives, broken communities, and a future that becomes more uncertain with each passing day. The choice, as always, is yours. You can close this video and go back to business as usual, or you can decide that knowing about these scandals means you have a responsibility to do something about them. Remember, the greatest trick these corporations ever pulled wasn't just convincing us they were too big to fail, it was convincing us we were too small to matter. But we're not, and maybe that's what they're really afraid of. If you enjoyed this, then check out my video on the dark truth behind Christmas next.